Hello, vinyl community. This is the Calm Mazzy. And some of you who haven't watched us together, in fact, we've never been together. I have John from Digital Gramophone, but I need to finally, with him in the room with me, or at least me in Seattle and him in South?
North Carolina.
North
Oh,
Carolina.
yeah, it's North.
I knew that. Fuck.
Yeah.
That, remember, if you listen to his intro, Digital Gramophone makes no sense.
That's
So
right.
we're here, and we're going to do something that I don't even know what it's called, but I'm going to let John explain it, introduce it. Hi, John.
Hey, man. How are you doing?
Good.
So, several people that do these videos, they're especially people that lean towards my age group, but you're familiar with Pitchfork, too. You read Pitchfork before. Yeah, so Pitchfork has this thing that they do where they interview musicians, and some of them are not even musicians, directors or whatever, and they go through the music of their life and how it impacts them at a certain age. So they start at like age 5, and then they go every 5 years until however old they are. But we're only doing 5 albums, so the increments are a little bit bigger. I can't do every 10 years because I'm not old enough. But what I'm doing is I'm doing 10, starting at 10, and then I'm going to go to 15, and then I'm going to go to 20, and then 30 and 40, and that's how I'm going to do it. And then you were starting at 10 too,
I'm going
right?
to do 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then because I cheat all the time, I have 2 on the either end because I can do. I'm not going to talk about them, but I have one that the year I was born that I just show up quickly. And of course I didn't get into this record until the year I was born, but it just happened to be reissued this year as one of my favorite albums. And I never knew it until maybe 20 years ago. And then I have one that when I turned 60. So, but I'm just going to show at the end. I won't bogart your 5. If you want to mention any more, you can. But you know me. If someone says 10 guitarists, I'm going to show 21 guitarists. Fuck it.
I know.
I'm old guy.
I know.
I get Social Security soon. Thank God. It's creepy though.
So you want to go first, or
you go? I'll go first only because I'm going to quickly show the birth year, but then I'll go do the real one if that's okay. Because I'm cheating. The year I was born was 1954. The year the Stratocaster guitar was invented. The year the Salk vaccine was invented. The year they coined the term officially rock and roll. Alan Freed coined it in 1954. So a good year to be born. This record came out in 54. I didn't even know it until I was researching this, but Chet Baker Sings, great record. I didn't get into it. I think I first heard this record in the 70s, worked in record stores, but this is a recent tone poet. That's all I'm going to say about that, but that's my birth year. But 10 years old, 1964, the British invasion. What a friggin' year. I went literally that February on the Ed Sullivan Show from being like big into Little League, like first base Little League. I was kind of tall for my age then, taller than the other kids, but then, so the Beatles change it all. But I tell myself on these kind of things, I'm not showing Beatle records unless I have to. So I'm skipping the Beatles. But that year, a few months later on the British invasion, the record that really sounded totally different than the Beatles or anyone else is the first Kinks record.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the song, You Really Got Me. Excuse me.
It's okay.
The virus is kicking in. I don't think so.
Yeah.
This is a this is a stereo copy. It's not my original, but I did get this probably in the late 60s. So it's that great reprise record. Pristine shape. My records tend to be in pristine shape. So I bought it new when it was still around. But You Really Got Me. What a great song. It's I mean, just as da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Different than the Beatles, different than She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, all the loving shit. That was a powerful, powerful record. And then a lot of cover stuff here. Bald-Headed Woman, Too Much Monkey Business, Stop Your Sobbin', which is a great song.
Love that song.
I knew the song, but I didn't really pay attention till like 1980 when the Pretenders did it.
Pretenders did it. Yep.
First album, and of course,
Yep.
Ray was Stuppen, what's her name, and they have a kid together. You know,
Yeah.
What's her name? Come on.
Chrissy Hynde.
Chrissy Hynde, of course I know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm going for this, my 10-year-old record. I was 10 years old and I got this, and I learned for the first time what really driving rock and roll was.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Ray Davies pretty much, he tells everybody, you really got me, was the first punk rock riff. Right. I mean, you know, I've heard other musicians say that he would tell them that.
And I should know this because it's one of my 3 favorite bands. I don't know if Ray actually wrote that riff or Dave did.
Or if Dave did, yeah, no. Those two, I never know. Like there have been songs and I've found out that Dave wrote them, and I was like, what? It just blew my mind.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah.
And that song also, years later, he always used to say, I'm not going to sue him, but "Hello, I Love You" by the Doors, because da 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 da. Anyway.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Yeah.
John with 1 H, no H.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool that was like your first introduction into kind of like what you consider like harder rock, right? And at the time,
I didn't even know it was called harder rock. I mean, we didn't.
Yeah, but it definitely was. Well, it's funny that you chose that because that is my choice. Now, I was born in '78 though, so at 10, that would have been in 1988. And I didn't really discover this album. It came out a year before in 1987. And I was 10 years old. I was in 5th grade. And that was when I learned about this. And it's Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. So my parents raised me on, they weren't really big rock and roll people. They were more kind of like singer-songwriter, James Taylor, Carole King type people. My dad said when he was in the Army Reserves, he was kind of into rock and roll a little bit more. That's when he had Zeppelin records and stuff like that. But I never saw those records. So
he had America records.
Right.
I did too.
They were also really into like R&B music, like Motown, beach music. Do you know beach music? Do you know that terminology? Did that ever make it out to the West Coast?
Well, I mean, to us, it was like Beach Boys, the surf music.
No. So in the South, on the East Coast, beach music was like Myrtle Beach, the Grand Strand area, and it was anything that you could shag to. Do you know the shag? Do you know that dance, the shag?
I know about shagging, but I don't know about the shag.
Yeah.
In my day, shag meant something else.
I'm not sure if shagging came. I don't know which. Yeah, I don't know which came first.
You saw Austin Powers. You know where
shag. Oh yeah, I know. I bet. Yeah, but anyway, so beach music was like R&B music that was a regional thing. But my parents loved it. They had all these compilations of it. So that's all I listened to growing up as a kid was just that stuff. Hardly any rock and roll. And then a friend of mine in 5th grade, and I can't even remember his name, we had just gotten back into school from the summer, and it was like, yeah, so what'd you do this summer? What did you learn about? And he was like, well, I learned about Guns N' Roses. And I was like, okay, what the hell is Guns N' Roses? And it blew my mind, like, because I never heard anything like this. I didn't have an older sibling, so I wasn't exposed to that. I didn't have older friends in the neighborhood that could expose me to this stuff. And it was my first album or first music that I ever heard that was like, oh, okay, well, this stuff is kind of dangerous. Like, this stuff is like rock and roll. Oh, so I can like music that my parents aren't supposed to like or that don't want me to like. Like, that was my first exposure. This album, also probably like License to Ill by the Beastie Boys. Like, those were huge for people my age at that, early in our childhood. So yeah, that's the first one. That's me at 10.
I'm going to admit it. I've never owned a Guns N' Roses album.
Yeah.
There's a certain genre of music, rock and roll kind of stuff that passed me by. I've talked about this before. There's certain kinds of music that I love seeing live but I just never played at home. For a while it was punk, but then so certain punk records I could have got, I passed on. Some I did get, but I realized I love it live, but I don't want to play it at home. But same with that kind of stuff. I saw Kiss. I hated Kiss, but I went
Yeah.
to see him. I loved it just because it was so out there, bizarre, and it was a record
Right.
company thing where I got free tickets, and I loved it. It was 77, 78 or whatever it was, and but I never had the urge to own a Kiss record. So is the Kinks song on that record? I know they cover it on one of their records, right? You really got one?
Um,
No?
no,
Okay.
not this one.
Okay.
No.
They cover, right? Don't they cover it?
I think, or are you thinking about Van Halen?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, they
I
covered
know
it.
they're not all alike. That's
I
like
know you were trying to find a connection, but
you kids and
well, and
the
that's the thing. Like, you know, I guess for a brief period, I was kind of into the hair bands. You know, like when it was bad music, and I know that now. Like some of it was really bad, but those guys were like really authentic, and
yeah.
they kind of they owed a lot more to the Stones, and they owed a lot more to punk rock. You know, and so I think that that's why they kind of almost you can still kind of listen to them today, you know, and that record in particular. But you don't. But I mean, I don't listen to Poison anymore, you know. Like I
I think to
don't know
me
who
it's
does.
I think to me it's a vocal thing because I'm not a big fan of Axl's voice that much. I like Slash's playing, and um,
Yeah.
so some of the band, if I like the playing, like I don't want to get on a whole sidestep of like grunge. I got a bunch of grunge albums. I always
Uh
loved
huh.
Nirvana and Cobain singing. I never really liked, even though I have some, loved the singing Eddie Vedder, except the stuff when he did soundtracks away from Pearl Jam. I never
Yeah.
like that whole gnarling kind of,
Yeah.
Soundgarden stuff. I used to buy the CDs, and I realized I'd buy the 2 or 3 other CDs and never play them.
Right.
Wow,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
Plus I was raising a son then, so
Right.
you know what that's like.
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
All right. 1974. Now, this record I've shown a lot. It's been on the VC a lot, but I realized the records I picked were very big, in my opinion, game changers, even though we didn't know it necessarily at the time. But I showed this a million times. Grievous
Oh,
Angel, 1974.
yeah.
I got into this. I did the whole thing with the eulogy. My friend Vernon, who
Hmm.
pushed me into Graham Parsons even more, and Emmylou Harris after this. And on that video of my friend when he passed, I had this record when Vernon was, turned me on to that first Emmylou Harris record. And I didn't even realize her fucking name was right there with Emmylou Harris. That's the
Right.
singer on that album but I love this record. I just
Oh,
mentioned it the other day when I did my 21 guitars because of the great guitarist James Burton and his pink Telecaster guitar, who's Pink Paisley, who's all over this. Linda Ronstadt, Emmylou Harris records. Elvis Presley played with Ricky Nelson, but what a great
yeah.
record and a turning point record. GP, the one before it, obviously is an important record, but this came out right after he died, and he started becoming that cult artist. Is he the first? No, but he symbolizes that whole change in country rock and
Oh yeah.
bringing it to the Byrds with Sweetheart of the Rodeo. So I'm going with this. I was 20 the year this came out. Perfect. And I
Yeah.
worked in record stores, so we play this a lot.
Oh
Great.
yeah. I love that album. Graham's a big one for me. In fact, Sam, my son Sam, was gonna be named Graham, and some friends of ours named their child Graham probably about 2 years before we even started. But I always said, if I have a son, I'm going to name him Graham. And then these friends of mine beat me to it. So I went with Sam after Sam Cooke
Did you
instead.
already have the monogram blanket with AM? You just changed the S
No,
or the G?
luckily we're not. No, luckily we're not those type of people.
Okay.
My wife is close to that type of person, but no. No.
The in-laws always do that kind of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I know.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that one. And dude, so I don't see how we're going to keep doing this. There's no way we're going to keep doing this.
Dude.
But that one is very closely linked to my next one.
Okay.
At 15, I discovered Uncle Tupelo. And Uncle Tupelo was kind of like considered the fathers of the alt country kind of movement in a way. I mean, I know that there were other bands that came around like before them, like the Jayhawks specifically. And then the Bottle Rockets were a band that were contemporary of them. You could also even say like Jason and the Scorchers in the 80s, you know, some of those bands. But what became the real like movement started with these guys. And I mean, they even had a magazine named after them, you know, after their first album. And this was their last one. But this was the first one that I discovered. It actually came from, I bought a compilation called No Alternative. It's a great compilation.
I have that CD.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a red hot organization. Go get it. Yeah. Go get it. Go get it. So, yeah. So I got the red hot, that compilation, and it has a ton of bands on it. Matthew Sweet, the Goo Goo Dolls, even though I'm not a big Goo Goo Dolls fan, but the Breeders are on it. Nirvana had a hidden track. This is weird talking when Mazzy's gone, but anyway. But yeah, but Uncle Tupelo was on there, and they did, this is so weird while he's gone. This is perfect that we would do this in our video.
I can't find it, but I was looking actually for a Toilet Flush soundtrack. Sorry. I have my Red Hots together, like the Latin one and the Brazil, all that shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's there somewhere. I'm sorry.
An all in the family toilet flush moment. That's what we were looking for. Yeah.
End of the second Steppenwolf album. There's a toilet flushing the pot down the toilet.
Yeah.
You're going to get Chris the Long Cut all wet showing this shit. Isn't that the Long Cut on there?
Yeah. I watched your video with him, and I've watched his videos, and we love this band almost equally the same. Like, this is my favorite band of all time. Yeah. But he's a little bit older than me, so I'm jealous of him because he got to see them, like, as they were playing, you know. He was, I guess, in college or whatever when they were really starting to get bigger, and so he got to see them. Like, I just missed that wave. Like,
I think he's 45, 46-ish. So.
Yeah. So, like, I just missed it, you know. And when I was in high school, I wasn't really, I didn't really get to go to concerts a lot and stuff, you know. Like, that didn't really happen for me until college, you know. But especially club shows. I mean, everything where I grew up was 21 and over anyway. So, but anyway, not to get sidetracked. But on that compilation, on that No Alternative compilation, they do a cover of Effigy by CCR.
Right, Creedence.
And I didn't even know it was a CCR song at the time that I heard it. And it just blew me away. I'd never heard anything like it. Well, the thing that really struck me was that it was an alternative music band with these heavy distorted guitars, but they sang with these voices that almost sounded like they had a Southern accent.
Totally.
But they weren't from the South, really. They were from the St. Louis area, and their speaking voices are not, you know, they were Midwesterners. But the way they sang, you know, it owed to that, to where that music kind of came from. And I just never heard anything like that before. And it really, I don't know, it just grabbed me. So that's whenever sometime after I discovered that compilation, we were in the Triangle area of North Carolina. That's Durham, Chapel Hill, and Raleigh. That's where all the major universities are. And we had just gone to the Duke campus because my dad went to NC State, but me and my brother became big Duke basketball fans. And so we wanted to go to the Duke campus and go to the athletic store and buy some swag or whatever, some bullshit swag or whatever. Well, we got out of there and we were about to get into the car, and I noticed a music store. And I said, Dad, do you mind if I just go into that music store? And he was like, yeah, sure. So I went in, and I was like, okay. And my music store culture was not, I wasn't really, you know, it was just music stores in the mall for me at this point in my life, you know, like your Camelot Music or whatever. And so this was like, you could tell it was like an independent record store. I didn't really know that at the time, but I know that looking back. But as soon as I walked in that place, you know, the pressure that you get as a consumer, especially when you're a younger kid, it's like, okay, I got to get something that's going to impress these guys at the counter, you know, something that's like not, you know what I mean? Like,
I worked on the other side of it, on the other side of the counter. So if you didn't impress
so
me,
you were making fun of, you were
if you're
that
going to
guy.
buy the best of bread, you're out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I like that record. Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, I'm not gonna go in here and buy a Green Day album or whatever, you know. I'm gonna go with, you know, and I just kind of worked that Rolodex in my head, and I was like, oh, that band, that Uncle Tupelo band, and it was this one, and I bought it, and I went up the counter, and the guy was like impressed, you know, and it was a fun moment, you know. But also it just stuck with me, you know. I could also listen to this around older relatives, and they would be like, oh wow, that sounds like Creedence, or that sounds like the Allman Brothers.
It's got,
or not really Allman Brothers,
it's got a 70s feel of that too.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I don't know. And then, you know how much I love that Americana. I talk about it a lot on my channel.
All that kind of stuff I got on CDs. So I was getting Uncle Tupelo, Jayhawks, Golden Smog, you know, the offshoots. And I didn't really follow it like you or Chris, like who's in what band. I knew there was all this overlap, and they broke up and they went this way. I didn't know all that shit, but I didn't follow them as personalities like I did with bands, like all the shit I rattle off in the 60s and 70s. I couldn't talk about that stuff like you guys talk about it, but I like that music. So.
Yeah, it was, you know, I knew some kids later in life that they were a little bit older than me, and like they had, like, everybody kind of has a band that was like a touch point for them, that kind of introduced them into something that was different, or just not, you know, not even beyond mainstream. It just kind of introduced them into another world. And for a lot of people, it was maybe like the Pixies, you know, or it was the Velvet Underground for some people in the 60s probably, or whatever. Well, Uncle Tupelo was that band for me as a 15-year-old, you know. It got me into a whole nother side of music and a whole nother world of music outside of the whatever, you know, Pearl Jam and Radiohead and whatever else I was listening to.
Big name, sure.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Okay.
Enough about that.
I'm going to go on. I don't know where, unfortunately with these things, there's no timers. Just to let you know, because of this, we can't cut off at 40 minutes. So,
oh crap!
No matter what I do. So,
well, I'm not going to go as long on the other.
No, it's okay.
I promise.
I showed this a million times. I'm not going to talk about it a lot, but this was a big game changer too of that side of music. The first Smiths album, 1984. So I turned 30 that year. God, my 30th birthday, and listening to. I buy an album with a naked Joe D'Alessandro from the Andy Warhol Factory. You know, I mean, I heard Still Ill, Hand in Glove, Pretty Girls Make Grave. But again, I got a promo copy of this, and I didn't really know much about it. But the opening song, which never gets a lot of talk, I did talk about recently, Reel Around the Fountain. It's just a dirge, the same drum, slow, which is unlike a lot of the later stuff. I fell in love with, and I had this friend of mine, Karen. We've been friends. We were first dates ever, and I drove her up to Coit Tower in San Francisco and made her listen to this on cassette. I mean, we were just platonic friends. We were each other's, like, every New Year's Eve, if we were single, we'd hang out. That was our pact.
Yeah.
And, I played that and she likes to talk about death and dying and how to kill her old boyfriends and shit. So it was such a great, you know, Reel Around the Fountain, Slap Me on the Patio. And I fell in love with this song, and the Smiths were one of my top 3 80s bands ever. But turning 30 and listening to the Smiths, what a great band, post-punkish, but really different. Something different, you know. So
yeah.
That's all I got to say about it.
Yeah. Now I'll be talking about Johnny Marr in a video I'm doing later. But yeah.
Love him.
Left
my guitar by mistake, my guitar fame.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing a list of guitarists, but it's not necessarily all of music. It's more that kind of era, you know, or not era, but genre, kind of alternative, kind of. Anyway. So 1998, I was 20 years old. This album came out then, and you know, I was 15. Yeah, 15 when Kurt Cobain killed himself. So that was a big deal for me. That age, or impressionable, whatever. You know, things are a lot more dramatic than they really,
Oh
really
yeah.
can be. You know, so it was huge. And the next one that was kind of like a big loss for me was Jeff Buckley.
Oh.
And you
Push
know,
to the camera more. It's off camera.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is this better?
Yeah, perfect.
All right, sorry.
Sorry to.
So yeah, this is Sketches for My Sweetheart the Drunk, which was the post-Humus album that they put out. Yeah, it was. Go ahead. You going to grab Grace?
Keep going.
Okay. So anyway, this came out after he died, and it was what he had started to work on before he died, and then they just kind of pieced it together. And then there's some demos, and yep, and some other stuff on there. Yeah, that's my favorite right there. Yep, I have that box. That's good. And there was just a lot of mystery to his death, you know, and then we didn't have quite the amount of information or the content stream that we have now. So when somebody died, especially under the means of the way he did, and he wasn't like as huge as Kurt Cobain, so there wasn't as much media coverage about it. So you didn't really even know kind of really what was going on. So when this album came out, I thought, well, I'm going to buy this album. It's going to give me all the answers. It's going to tell me everything about him and about it. And there's still almost a cloud of mystery about him in general, you know, like obviously it's Tim Buckley's son, but they didn't have a great relationship, or Tim just wasn't really in his life, I don't think at all. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's just such an emotive songwriter, one of the best vocalists that ever lived. I mean, really, one of the best. And I don't know, I've just always loved this. This has a cover of Satisfied Mind on it, which was the Byrds did that one. They didn't write it, obviously. It was like an old country tune or whatever, but
folk, yeah.
it's on what? Turn, 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 I think. I think that's the one it's on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway. But yeah, that's this one when I was 20 was a big deal.
I remember when he died on that one too, because the first thing I thought about was his father, because his father died young. He died young. I was always a bigger fan of Tim Buckley than I was, but I had those records, and it was so bizarre. I mean, Hallelujah obviously kind of sold everyone, but then some of the stuff sounded like Led Zeppelin the way in his right.
Yeah, the harder rocking stuff on Grace, definitely.
I was 16 years old, like around 16, 15, 16, when like Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morris, all those, you know, so that was a big deal because like everyone was fucking dying, all three of them in a year and a half, whatever that period was.
Yeah.
I don't know. And especially in those times, everything seems so, when you're 15, a year is like 10
right
now. I blink and fuck. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. I'm doing this one because I always was a Johnny Cash fan, but obviously this changed everything for Johnny Cash and brought him back when Rick Rubin signed him and grabbed him, because he had been on obviously Columbia in the 60s. We all know his hits there with June Carter and the Prison albums, Boy Named Sue and all that stuff. And then he went Columbia with putting out these they're kind of fun now. I actually have a CD box of all his Columbia stuff. They're great to listen to, but some of them are schlocky and overproduced records. And then Mercury Records, he did it. And basically that's one, fuck you, Nashville. No offense to the people we love, like Bob and Randy and those guys in Nashville. You know, the Nashville thing like threw away these country artists like Merle Haggard and Johnny. They didn't get played on the radio, and the record companies threw them away. And it took, you know, Rick Rubin, producer, you know, rap artists and the Beastie Boys, and was it Run DMC and to get them, strip them down, and say, hey, you need some good songs, and just play them. And there's so much soul. Part of it was recorded at Johnny Depp's club, the Viper Room, where River Phoenix died, out in front of it. This changed everything, and it gave him just a whole new audience, and a younger audience fell in love with it. And then he did, you know, the five albums, I guess, then the posthumous tapes and stuff. But this is a beautiful record. I love this record. I mean, the songs like Delia's Gone, I think is a Nick Lowe song. I mean, he got the Beast, no, the Beast in Me.
The Beast in Me. Yeah.
One. But Tennessee Stud, Bird on the Wire, Leonard Cohen. So they found the songs that worked for him and he made them theirs. Like I didn't even know on the later album that that big hit he did was the Nine Inch Nails song, Hurt.
Yeah.
And I had that friggin' record, but I thought, I never heard that song before. Nine Inch Nails, I don't have that. And I look on, with a Spiral or whatever it's called, and it sounds nothing like that song. And Johnny Cash made it the definitive version.
Oh yeah, I mean it was already a very devastating song, but when he did, good Lord.
Right. So I turned 40 this year, and this album came out.
Yeah.
Cash.
Yeah, that's nice. So okay, so 30. Do you ever have a band, or were there ever bands that you're kind of like, I'm never gonna give that band the time of day just because I'm sick of the amount of exposure they get. I'm sick of how much people talk about them. I just don't believe in the hype or anything like that.
Never in my entire life has that happened.
Huh?
Never.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, you own everything, so it couldn't happen that much.
I don't own a Guns N' Roses. I don't own a Van Halen record.
Yeah. Well,
I don't own a Metallica. Oh, actually, I have Metallica. I love Enter Sandman. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So, well, this band was not as big as those, but The National was a band for the first part of their career that I ignored intentionally. And I don't know what it was. There was just something about it. There was something about the way they were written about. And it was just like, I'm just not gonna go. Like, they're just a hype band. I'm not gonna get into this. I'm not gonna give it the time of day. Well, I was living in Durham, North Carolina at the time. I lived there for about a year. And that's a very hip kind of town, college town. And I was out at a bar, and
you just
did
you just do a shot?
No, I got a phone call.
Did you go into black to do a shot?
I was getting a phone call. So anyway, I heard the song Abel off of this. Okay. It's spelled Abel, like Cain and Abel. And I was with somebody. I don't even talk to them anymore. I don't even know. I mean, but anyway, I was with this person that I had met while I was living there. And I asked her, I was like, who is that? She was like, that's a National. I was like, no, that can't be the National. She was like, yeah, it's the National. I was like, okay, well, I guess I like the National. So I got this album. So this would be 3 years after this album came out. But this is the one. So this came out in 2005, and 2008 was when I turned 30. And so I decided to give it a chance. When I got this album and I listened to this album, it spoke to everything about kind of where I was in my life. It kind of summarized the end of my 20s almost.
Yep.
And Dean at Grandma's Handbag had talked about that with the album Sound of Silver by LCD Sound System. And I had that kind of feeling with that album too, but this one even more so. And what is so funny is that this band kind of, they're almost a rock band for adults. They're about adulting kind of in a way.
They're an NPR band. They're an NPR band.
Yeah.
Like
well, yeah.
Tiny desks.
Yeah. Well, with every subsequent album from this one on, there was a maturity there.
They may someday replace on PBS Peter, Paul, and Mary for Pledge Nights.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it is about them.
I get it.
Yeah, but that's it. That one's for me for 30.
Well,
yeah.
I can't think right off the bat, but there are definitely bands like that I just said, nah, and I get into them, and all of a sudden I want to go back and buy, or at least look through all the earlier stuff. Okay, my last official one is when I turned 50, the year I turned 50. Fuck. And And this is a little offbeat because it had a cult following. I think it did pretty well, but it wasn't a huge record. But it hit me at a right time. There were, you know, groups like the National or this kind of like folky Americana stuff, and I wanted to rock out a little more. So this, I didn't know it. I heard this one track. I don't even know where I heard it, and they were a power trio, and I fucking loved the cover. Originally a band from Texas, two brothers and a drummer. They moved to New York, and it's the Secret Machines. And
Okay.
I fucking love this record. I can say fuck because it's my video.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a mix of like I don't want to say they're like a Vincimus Eruptum's Summertime Blues and all that, but they have that power
Blue
thing
Cheer.
of that. They're a little Led Zeppelin-ish. They're a little prog. They have these long songs that go on forever, and they just belt it out. And this like bass, drums, guitar, keyboard. I thought this cover is friggin' beautiful. I just love, and it reminds me, of course, the Ummagumma or Ummagumma, Pink Floyd, with all the instruments in a way, without the band. Not exactly like that. The package is great. They made one record after this. I think one of the brothers left, so they didn't have. But was it Craft Recordings or Vinyl Me Please did these limited editions? I love this record. So I turned 50. Love this record. It rocks. It's a good sounding record. It didn't sound like anything in 2004 to me, when things were getting like the, you know, the Wilcos of the world, the Americana was going and all that stuff. You know, aside from the other rock stuff, it wasn't a hard rock band, but it is hard rock. But it had a little artsy thing to it, again, like Blue Cheer. But again, not like Blue Cheer. But that's only the band that it reminds me of, because the other power trio, Cream, it's certainly not psychedelic, although there are some, as Mazzy like to say, psychedelic flourishes. Flourishes, yeah. So I'm going with my 50-year-old Secret Machine album, Buy It.
Yeah. I have not even
I'd gotten the CD, but I have both the first two CDs on reprise, and I just got this like in the last 3 years it came out on vinyl.
I have not even heard the band name Secret Machines since that album came out, probably. I mean, that's crazy that you bring that one up. That's wild. Again, it was nothing like the music that was out that year, in my opinion. Rock was dead almost. Like,
it's dead now, right?
I mean, some of the garage bands and like the Strokes and bands like that, that was kind of like the last kind of, I don't know, the last march or whatever. It's just not rock and roll, unfortunately. But anyway,
I love it.
Yeah, I do too. So this one, I don't really even have a big long story about or anything, thank goodness, because this has probably gone on long enough. But this is an album and a band that I discovered when I was 40. It came out in 2018, 2 years ago. It's Sarah Shook and the Disarmers.
I've never seen that album in my entire life.
Yeah, the album is called Years. So Sarah Shook and the Disarmers, it's a alt country punk kind of, you know, sound. And they're from Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
It goes off the tongue easily. Sarah Shook and the
Disarmers.
Disarmers. They can't even say it.
Disarmers. Yeah. But it's a great, I mean, she's got a great attitude. I mean, a gnarly kind of, you know, punkish kind of attitude. Great songwriter. I would say that it's like, did you ever listen to Hank the Third stuff? His kind of punky kind of stuff.
I did a little bit because I hated his father so fucking much. I love his grandfather.
God,
I just didn't like that. That's a political thing I hate to get into, but
this is kind of, I'd say, more kind of more accessible kind of sound, but similar to him, kind of more punky than country, but also very country.
Okay.
I'd say a less kind of jovial sounding old 97s type sound. That's what this is.
That's appropriate to put Years, because this whole thing is about years. So it's kind of
I didn't even think about
John,
that.
it's a kumbaya moment right now.
Yeah, I didn't even think
First
about
time
that.
we actually converse, and you're showing the years. I'm for Clem.
But Yeah, a little. This is a kind of an emotional thing for me, really, being able to like talk. But yeah, uh, this one I just discovered that year. She had some other albums out before this one, so I've kind of gone backwards now. But I saw them play at the Radio Room in Greenville, South Carolina, which is where I'm originally from. That's where Eric Weinbender lives.
Okay.
Yeah, it was great. They were just a great band. I highly recommend this.
I'll
to
check
people
it
that
out.
like
Definitely
that kind
check
of
it out.
music.
I'm learning from these videos. But I mean, I'm learning from all of VC videos.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a good way. That was what's great about the guy that used to be the nicest guy in the VC, who's, I don't know if he's not so nice because you and I didn't win his contest, but you know, he talks about, you know, the whole thing. We learned that one of the questions, what albums did you pick up from the VC? So we're not going to even mention that guy's name because we don't give any credit. I'll get him on here one of these days.
His video, his contest video, his winner announcement was great, wasn't it?
It was great. It was great.
You know, we had, I guess I'll just say it now because we're never going to leave our houses again. But, you know, there was this thing that was going on where some of us were all talking about this big meetup. I think I even emailed you about it and said, if you can come out to Charlotte, we're going to have like, I mean, it was maybe going to be at least like a dozen guys. Like, and then I hate to call him out because he doesn't like to be called out, but my friend Sam, the Vinyl Douche, had one time run this idea by me about like, we should have like a convention, like an annual convention, you know, like where we all get together. It's like just this huge meetup.
We could do Michigan right now.
That's right. Yeah. We could storm the capital of Michigan.
Did you see that zombie picture of the glass doors in Ohio?
Yeah.
It's all over the web now. They look like zombies, and the woman's holding the American flag, and her face is like.
Oh God.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
But
anyway,
those people.
Those people.
But that was what was great about Bill's video and the way he did it. He said it as a premiere, so some people we could all watch it together. You know.
You mentioned his name.
Ah, damn it.
It was pretty great though. We're kissing your ass, Bill. You don't need it.
It was good. It was good.
We need Bill to be a little more of an asshole.
You know, he's not as nice as he lets on. No. He really isn't.
You know, Dave kept sending me things in Facebook. Dave, local bandography, every week. Yeah. There's a Beatle convention. You got to come down to in here. You got to come down the weekend, the Beatle convention in June. You're gonna come down to the Beatle convention. It's like, yeah, it wasn't a good time. We probably have to end this pretty soon.
Okay.
Just because of time-wise.
Yeah.
I turned 60. This album came out. I would have put this if I had one more record. So I'm cheating.
Okay.
Okay. But I love doing these, and like
I know, man.
After I get through a few of them, let's do another one. Let's come up with another concept, maybe, if you're interested. You know.
I'd like to. I really think more people are going to do this. I'm surprised more people haven't. But you know, I think it's gonna kind of become a thing.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I'm glad you're doing these. I think it's great.
I love it. I had to figure out how to do these. Go ahead.
I also want to be clear. I want everybody to know that I was one of the first people that you talked to about doing.
I talked to?
Yeah, I think you were. I'm not being serious. I'm just kind of. I just want everybody to know that even though I'm not one of the first ones that has done this with him, I was supposed to be, but I just, you know.
What's that term? There's a different term about first at the altar or last to get married. What's that?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Bridesmaid, never the bride.
Yeah.
Sorry, you know, it's just, that's because you got kids. You got to, you know, your wife's going crazy with the kid in the car going around the block for 45 minutes.
We take them out. We take them out at least every other day.
I think it'd be great for Sam to come in all the time. It could be kind of like, no offense, but it can be like Steve Carlson's cat. You can just jump on your lap. I've been there.
It's pretty much the same thing.
My son's 29, so I've been there. I love it. I've been through it, but I have the time now because he's not there, and I work at home.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, no. People have seen enough of Sam. They don't want to see him anymore. I think I did enough of that.
do it every once. In fact, what you should do is do one of these. Stick them in the other room with your wife, and have them on
Yeah.
another screen. Do a double screen. Or can I?
Yeah. It was,
Maybe I should do one with Sam alone. That would be. That's kind of creepy, you know.
yeah.
Stick your son. Stick your son in a room with a 55-year-old man.
Yeah.
It's like
He
a
would just want to
CSI
talk
episode.
to you about tractors. So it wouldn't
Yeah,
it wouldn't work anyway.
Yeah.
He
walk
is
through-
though,
I
you
can-
know, he's
ahead.
into the Beatles and he's into the Birds. We
Wow.
got him into the Birds very recently.
Well, I'll
So-
do an episode. I'll do Beatles and birds, and I'll walk on my carpet in bare feet with Legos everywhere.
Yeah.
I know what that's like.
Yeah.
I have like a yellow Lego thing embedded in the bottom of my right foot here. So. Okay, I'm going to wind this down. We'll
Yeah,
do
man.
more. John, Digital Gramophone. I'll put a link to his channel. Mazzy loves you, and this will be up. Well, I'll let you know when it's up.
Yeah. All right. See ya.
Sign it off. Now, every time I do stop, there's always like you're going to be sitting there for 10 seconds alone on video, by the way.